Hey guys, we are here for Tag Tuesday and we are doing the Ultimate Book Tag, I think it was called. And we're just going to jump right into the questions. I think I'm mostly answering it, but Nick is going to be piping in. Okay, the first question is, do you get sick while reading in the car? Yes, I do get very sick from reading in the car, mostly when it's a paper
Mostly when
book.
it's moving.
Yeah, mostly when it's moving, but mostly with paper books because the smell of the ink makes me very nauseous. Like sometimes I can read like if I'm reading on my phone or something like that, but otherwise I just get really nauseous.
Does it smell like it?
It's the smell of the ink. Do you get sick? No, he doesn't get sick. Two, which author's writing style is completely unique to you and why? Oh man, the book is all the way over there. The author that her writing style is really just really unique to me is Vicky Peterson. She has a series of books that I cannot think of the name right now, but it was just really interesting to me how she took characters uh, and made them kind of superheroes. And I read a lot of books inside of the genre of sci-fi and fantasy and horror and stuff like that. And surprisingly, I've never read a book that made the characters take their powers and call themselves superheroes in particular. So that was really interesting to me. Like even the characters even have their own comic book series. So I found that really interesting. Okay, question number 3: Harry Potter series or the Twilight Saga? Definitely the Harry Potter series. It's just way better. The question also asks to give 3 points to find your answer. And my 3 points are the characters are more intelligent. They are really well rounded, and the main characters develop really well over time throughout the books. Whereas in the Twilight Saga, they're kind of one dimensional and
You can't really
stupid.
you can't really respect a guy that glitters in the sun.
Yeah. I don't know. Um, but yeah, character development. I feel like Harry Potter has a better storyline, and a better climax to the book. You know, when you get to the final book, it really
Draws you in.
draws you in, and it's a satisfying ending. Whereas with Twilight, it just kind of was anticlimactic. You know, they didn't even really battle. Right. Question number 4: do you carry a book bag? If so, what is in it besides books? I in my bag that I carry to school, I have my laptop, my binder, and my sketchbook.
Gym clothes.
And he carries gym clothes because, yeah. Okay. Question number 5: do you smell your books? I used to smell my books all the time. I just love the smell of books in general, but I prefer like older books and like library books. They have like a more unique smell, like that smell of age and time. That's really great when you just open a book and it just smells amazing. Newer books, yeah, well seasoned. Newer books, they smell like glue and things like that. So they're not exactly very pleasant to smell. Number 6: books with or without little illustrations. And I'm assuming they mean like chapter illustrations and not illustrated children's books. Uh, I don't think chapter illustrations are necessary. I mean, they're helpful if the story isn't good enough for you to kind of comprehend what's going on. Like sometimes you,
No, they're awesome.
yeah, it's just a matter of opinion.
Like the little, like especially at the beginning of a chapter, it'd be like a little, like a wave or a cloud or something.
I mean, to me, I'm too busy blazing along to even look at it. Like, I'm just trying to read, and I don't even need chapters. Quality writing. Um, in general, I can tell if a book is of poor quality before, I don't usually, if it's a really poor quality book, I don't finish reading it. Like, it's just that simple. The only poor quality books I've ever read and continued reading knowing that it was poor quality was the Twilight series, and I did not like the Twilight series.
I read the last chapter when I pick up a book, and then I go through and read it. I read first and last chapter, and if I like it, I read everything.
I can't do that. I have to read it from the beginning to the end, and I prefer to read books in order, but sometimes I end up reading the second book first. It happened to like a lot of series that I've read. I randomly get like the second book. But usually I try to read books in order, and I can't skip anything. I have to read everything. That's another reason that it takes me longer to read than him, because I read all of the
I
pages.
read everything.
You do not. You skip through stuff all the
I
time.
I read everything. I reread the book like 5 times.
I don't need to reread the book 5 times because I read it right the first time. Number 8. Do you have any funny stories involving books from your childhood? Please share. I do. In high school, when book 6 of Harry Potter came out, me and my friends, we went to the midnight release party, and you may have heard of this in the news or on YouTube back when book 6 came out, about like this drive-by nerd shooting, I would call it, but like a drive-by where someone like read the end of the book, found out that Dumbledore died, and yelled it outside of the window while people were still at the release party. Um, and so I was actually at that location, but me and my friends were lucky enough that we came out after, or either we left before or we came out after, and so we managed to not hear that. But when it came to the book 7 release party, we grabbed our books and ran quickly to the car so we would not risk any uh, scary drive-bys. Okay. Question number 9. What is the thinnest book on your shelf? The thinnest book on our shelf is the Beginning Tai Chi. This is one of Nick's books, and it's only 60 something pages. It's 67 pages. And then the next question, of course, is what is the thickest book on your bookshelf? And this is another one of Nick's books here.
Awesome.
Which Nick
It's
really likes.
awesome.
Nick says it's awesome. I have not read this.
Everyone should read it.
It's pretty thick, and it is.
It's engrossing.
It is. Well, it doesn't say because I'm in the epilogue, but the last page that they have in here is 990. It's the last one they counted, and then there's an epilogue after that.
I've read that book 5 times.
Nick says he's read it 5 times. If he wants to talk, he should get back on camera. Do you write as well as read? Do you see yourself in the future as being an author? Yes, I do write, but and Nick also writes, but we both have the tendency of not completing what we're writing. Like, I've been writing books, or been trying to write books ever since I was really little, like not really little kid. I guess when I was a really little kid also, but I've always just really loved the idea of writing. I read so much that, my head gets filled with stories, and I want to write them and share them with the world, but I just cannot seem to get past chapter 3 when I'm writing. There's something about chapter 3 that just makes me like, I think the problem is like I stop around chapter 3 and I go back and try to reread everything, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and then I just get stuck and start critiquing everything I've already written, and yeah. But it's my dream to finish writing a book and complete it, and have it published and stuff like that. Same with Nick. I think he has kind of the same problem as me. Like, he gets started on it and just doesn't finish. Question number 12. When did you get into reading? I've always loved reading. Ever since I was a little kid. I started off with, your basic one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish from Dr. Seuss. Like, I loved that book, and, it's gone up from there. I've always had a really high reading level. I've always read all the time. There was a couple of years ago, I read a book almost every single day, like a different book every single day. And I just, it's just something I really enjoy doing, and it really makes me feel at peace and happy. And I'm always happiest when I'm reading. Your favorite classic book? I don't really like classic books. I'm not going to lie. I've been traumatized by way too many of them. But my favorite classic book, that is a book. I have a favorite classic play, but my favorite classic book is The Scarlet Letter. I don't know what it is about that book, but it's pretty much the only one, the classic book that I could read all the way through and actually enjoy. And I don't know. That was my favorite classic book. Question number 14. In school, what was your best subject, language arts or English? I'm going to say English, just because, I don't know, as far as I can tell from growing up, language arts and English weren't that different of a class. I guess one had a lot of spelling and stuff like that, which was fine. English had a lot of reading, so I would prefer English. Question number 15. If you were given a book as a present, that you had read before and hated, what would you do? I would keep it. I mean, I would take it and be grateful, even if I've already read it. I may be like, oh, I've already read this one, but I wouldn't be like, oh, I hate this book. Why did you get this for me? Because I'm not like a rude person or anything. But I probably just, take it and be thankful. And uh, Nick suggested that maybe I could just, take it to half price books or sell it or something like that. But, I'd probably just put it on my shelf with the hundreds of other books and it'd just get lost in there anyway. Number 16 was a lesser known series that you know of that's similar to Harry Potter or The Hunger Games. I'm not sure if it's a lesser known series, but it hasn't been made into a movie, so it's not fully mainstream yet. But it's a series called Fablehaven. It's really similar. It's in that kind of younger category of books meant for younger kids, and I think it's a really good series and has a very interesting storyline. One of my former bosses gave it to me to read, and at first I was kind of like, I don't want to read a book for this age range. I'm so past that, blah, blah, blah. But I read it, and, I really enjoyed it, even though I'm in my 20s, and I was just like, it was a really enjoyable book, and I think a really enjoyable series, and it was very well written. Number 17, what is a bad habit you always do besides rambling while filming, which is kind of an off-topic question, but I say like a lot. I'm always, I guess, when I'm talking, I'm always looking at myself instead of, I guess, maybe the camera or something else. But I'm always looking at myself, so it may look like I'm looking down. Number 18. What is your favorite word? I don't really think I have a favorite word. I guess I could say I say like a lot, so like could be my favorite word, but it's not really. Number 19, are you a nerd, dork, or dweeb, or all of the above? I'm going to go with nerd because I'm not really fond of the other two words. They have alternative meanings. So I think I would rather say that I'm a nerd. I've always been a nerd and I've always claimed nerdship, and I actually started a club back in high school called Nerd Club. So, yeah, definitely a nerd. Number 20, vampires or fairies, and then the question why. I would pick vampires over fairies because vampires, I mean, there's just most of the books that I read or have read in the past are vampire related more than fairies, and I prefer horror to fantasy, so I would definitely say vampires. The next question is shapeshifters or angels. I would say shapeshifters because this is a weird combination. I think, yeah, there's a few more questions like this, and I'm going to mix them around because I don't think that the comparisons make sense. So this one said shapeshifters or angels, so I'm going to switch it to shapeshifters or werewolves, which is the next pairing. So I would pick werewolves over shapeshifters because I'm currently very, very, very into werewolves, and that's kind of the books that I like reading right now. So I will go werewolves, and then spirits or angels, and I would pick angels because I used to really be into angel lore and really love just learning about angels when I was much younger. So I would definitely pick an angel over spirits. And then there is zombies or vampires, which is a question that they actually have written. Zombies or vampires, I would pick vampires once again because vampires are the better living dead. There's zombies and they're living dead, but they're usually mindless, just wanting to, satiate their hunger and eat brains. And they're scary. And then, but vampires are more alive, if you could say that. They have more, they have their, they have thoughts, they have motive, they have more to go off of than just wanting to satiate their hunger, though that is one of their defining characteristics. They, they have more depth to them than a zombie. Plus, if I were bitten by, if I was bitten by one of them, I'd rather be a vampire than become a zombie. Then question number 24, love triangle or forbidden love, and I want to combine them because I would rather have both. I mean, what's more juicy than a forbidden love triangle? I mean, that's like the best of both worlds, but I think if I had to pick, I love triangles make for a more interesting story because there's always like, who's it gonna be? You know, is she gonna choose person A or person B? Versus a forbidden love, which, you know, usually is just gonna obviously end with them going with the person most of the time that I've read a forbidden love type story arc. Like, she always ends up with the person or that person dies or something. But with, you know, love triangle, it could be either person. If it's written really well, you don't know until the very end. And finally, question number 25, full on romance books or action packed with a few love scenes mixed in. And I'm going to go action packed with a few scenes mixed in because it, romance books are just not my cup of tea. I do not read books to, you know, see these like just for it to be fully about this romance. Like, I love books where it's like action, action, fighting, killing, you know, crazy stuff with like just little twinges like of this like little taste of love story. And you're like, oh my gosh, because it's like so tense and crazy. And then, you know, there's just like this one little thing that happens, like little nugget of like love story that you're just like, oh, yay. And then, you know, it gets snatched away and goes back into the action, you know. That is far more interesting to me than just a full-on romance where it's all about the relationship and it's just so boring. And yeah, I like action. You know, I've always grown up with that. So that is the tag, and I tag anyone who wants to watch, and all of the girls, you know, all the people that I follow that read, please do this tag and do video response and leave comments down below. And plus, for Tag Tuesday, if you have a tag that you'd like us to do, me to do, or Nick to do, or us to do together, please leave it down in the comments below, and you may see us do it next week. Also, on Tag Tuesday, we can answer questions. So if you have a question or a few questions that you'd like for us to answer, we may answer them in a Tag Tuesday. So thanks, guys, for watching. Bye.